Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep into IELTS Writing Task 1 today.
Ooh, sounds intense.
It can be, but that's why we're here.
Exactly. To break it all down.
Using, of course, our trusty guide, IELTS Writing Task 1 Samples.
Such a helpful resource for anyone prepping for the IELTS.
Seriously. And one thing that surprised me was
What's that?
just how many different types of visuals you might see on the exam.
Yeah, it's not just your typical bar graph or pie chart.
Right, like you might even see a map.
Oh, absolutely. Or a process diagram.
Or even a combination of charts.
It's like a bar chart and pie chart together.
Exactly. So much variety.
And that's intentional. It really tests how well you adapt to different data.
And how well you can still pull out the key info, right?
Absolutely. Which is a super valuable skill.
Not just for the test, but for life in general.
Oh, 100%. I mean, think about it. We're
Yeah.
constantly bombarded with info these days in so many different forms.
Okay, so let's look at some specifics from the IELTS Buddy samples. One example shows a pie chart breaking down a children's charity spending and revenue.
Oh, interesting.
And this is for 2016.
Okay.
It's a great real-world example of data analysis, right?
Definitely. With a pie chart like that, you'd focus on the proportions.
So which slice is biggest, which is smallest?
And what that tells you about, say, the charity's priorities or financial health.
Gotcha. Another one that caught my eye
Yeah.
was a process diagram explaining how bricks are made.
Oh, wow. I never thought I'd find brick making fascinating, but process diagrams can seem a bit much at first.
I can see that.
But really, they're all about understanding a sequence of steps.
Okay.
Like, you need to figure out the key stages, the order they happen in.
And how they relate to each other, right?
Exactly. So with the brick making example,
Yeah.
you describe the raw materials, the shaping, the firing, and finally, the finished brick.
And it's not just about listing the steps. You have to
Uh-huh.
explain how they connect, right?
Right. You're looking for those cause and effect relationships.
Like what causes one stage to lead to the next?
Exactly.
Are there any places where the process could be, like, improved?
Exactly. Those are the kinds of insights the examiners are looking for.
It's almost like you're a detective.
I like that.
But instead of solving crimes...
You're solving the mysteries of data.
Exactly. Okay, now another example that really stood out to me.
Okay, tell me about it.
It was about theft rates per 1,000 vehicles.
Interesting.
And this was across 4 different countries between 1990 and 1999.
Gotcha.
It was presented as a line graph.
Makes sense.
My mind immediately went to, like, international crime trends.
Of course.
But I'm sure there's a lot more to uncover there.
Oh, definitely. With line graphs, you're really looking for trends over time.
So are the lines generally going up, down, staying fairly stable?
Well, exactly. And are there any sudden spikes or dips?
Because those could indicate something important, right?
Absolutely. And in this case, you could compare the trends between the countries.
Ooh, like see if there are any correlations with social or economic factors.
Exactly. You might even speculate on why some countries have higher or lower theft rates.
Fascinating. It really shows how data can tell a story and help us understand complex issues.
It really does, and that's what makes IELTS Writing Task 1 so challenging.
Yeah.
But also so rewarding. It's not about memorizing numbers.
It's about developing your analytical skills.
And learning how to communicate complex info effectively.
We look at pie charts, process diagrams, line graphs.
A good variety.
And these are just a few examples of what you might see on the exam.
It's clear they want to see if you can handle different data types.
But what I find really interesting is how these examples touch on broader themes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like that question about British emigration to different countries.
Which was presented as a bar chart, right?
Yeah, that gives us a glimpse into global migration patterns.
And then there's that line graph showing average CO2 emissions per person.
Which makes you think about climate change immediately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows that data isn't just abstract.
Right.
It reflects real-world trends and challenges that affect us all.
For sure.
But, like, how do we approach analyzing these charts effectively? Where do we even start?
Well, it can be a little overwhelming at first.
Totally. So
So
many
with-
numbers, lines, charts.
But there are some key strategies you can use.
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, first off, no matter what kind of chart you're looking at,
Yeah.
take a moment to really understand what it's showing you.
Okay.
Pay attention to the title, the labels, the units of measurement.
Like making sure you have all the pieces of the puzzle before you start putting it together.
Exactly. Once you've got that down, then you can start looking for patterns and trends.
Gotcha. Like with a line graph, you might notice an overall upward trend.
Right. But don't stop there. Look for smaller peaks and dips too.
Oh, I see. Like In that CO2 emissions example, maybe there's an overall upward trend,
Yeah.
but there could also be smaller dips that correspond to economic recessions or new policies.
Exactly. Those smaller changes can tell you a lot about what's influencing the overall trend.
Okay, that makes sense. So look for trends, then what?
Comparisons.
Oh.
If you've got multiple lines on a graph or multiple bars in a bar chart,
Yeah.
compare them. See if there are any significant differences or similarities.
Like with that British immigration bar chart.
Yes, you could compare, say, the number of people going to Australia versus Canada.
And try to figure out why those numbers might be different.
Right. And don't forget about changes over time, too.
Oh, right. Like, did emigration to a certain country increase or decrease a lot during that time period?
Exactly. And then think about what might have caused that change.
Okay, so we've got trends, comparisons, changes over time.
Yeah.
What else would we be on the lookout for?
Outliers.
Outliers.
Yeah, those data points that are way different from all the others.
Oh, right.
Sometimes they're just errors.
Yeah.
But sometimes they point to something really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Let's say you're looking at average incomes in a city.
Right.
And you see one data point that's way higher than the rest.
Yeah.
That outlier could be a neighborhood with a really high concentration of wealth.
That's a good point. So outliers can be like red flags, but they can also be valuable clues.
Exactly. It's all about digging a little deeper, not just taking the data at face value.
It's like being a data detective.
Back to that.
But seriously, that critical thinking is what the IELTS examiners are looking for.
For sure. They want to see you go beyond just describing the data.
You have to analyze it, interpret it, draw conclusions.
Exactly. It's about finding the story that the numbers are trying to tell.
Okay, so we've talked about line graphs, bar charts, a bit about pie charts and process diagrams.
A good range.
I know there are other types of visualizations, though.
Oh, yeah, tons.
Like, what about maps?
Maps are cool.
I remember seeing a sample question that used a map to show, like, tourist facilities on an island.
Oh, interesting. Maps add a whole spatial dimension to the data.
What do you mean?
You're not just seeing numbers, you're seeing how they're spread out over an area.
So with that island map,
Yeah.
you wouldn't just describe the types of facilities. You'd also look at where they're located on the island.
Exactly. And that can tell you a lot.
Like what?
Well, are they all clustered together? Or spread out evenly? Are they near sensitive areas?
That makes you think about the impact on the environment, right?
And the local communities.
Suddenly, it's not just a map of buildings. It's a map of, like, opportunities and challenges.
I like that. It's the beauty of data visualization.
It helps us see things in new ways.
Make connections, understand complex stuff, and make better decisions.
So even though there's a lot of variety in what we might see on the IELTS,
There are some common strategies we can use.
like understanding the data, looking for patterns, making comparisons,
Spotting changes, considering the bigger picture.
and remembering that there's a story behind every chart and graph.
A story that helps us understand the world a bit better.
This deep dive is making me think about all the other ways we use these skills in real life.
Oh, yeah, totally. It comes up way more often than you might think. Like, have you ever thought about managing your personal finances?
Not really in terms of data analysis.
But it is.
Yeah.
When you make a budget or track your spending,
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
or even when you compare different investment options.
It's all about looking at those numbers, those trends.
Exactly. And in the workplace, these skills are like gold.
I can
No
imagine.
matter what field you're in, marketing, sales,
Cool.
finance,
Research
being able to really understand and then communicate data clearly.
makes you stand out.
Oh, yeah, big time. Imagine presenting your findings to a team with confidence.
Using those visuals and giving insightful analysis.
That's a recipe for success right there.
Absolutely. And it's not just about presenting it either.
Right.
It's about using that data to actually make decisions.
Exactly. Like, if you can analyze market trends, identify customer needs,
See how effective a campaign is.
you become so valuable to any company.
So whether it's for the IELTS, personal finances, or your career,
Those data analysis skills are key.
they really are. And what's cool is
Yeah.
they're transferable. What you learn for the IELTS, you can apply it to, like, reading a news article about the economy
Oh, yeah.
or understanding a scientific study.
Or even figuring out the stats behind your favorite sports team.
Wow, I'm seeing data everywhere now.
Oh, right.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It's not just some boring academic thing.
It's actually super practical and empowering.
I agree.
Okay, before we go, I want to leave everyone with a challenge.
Ooh, I like
The
challenges.
next time you see a chart or graph,
Yeah.
maybe in a news article, at work,
Yeah.
even on social media, don't just scroll past it.
Really take a moment to look at it closely.
Ask yourself, what's the story here?
What are the main points?
What questions does it make you ask?
You might be surprised by what you discover.
Who knows, maybe you'll find a passion for data you never knew you had.
Maybe. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into IELTS Writing Task 1.
We hope you learned some valuable stuff.
And gained a new appreciation for the power of data.
And remember, the next time you see a chart or graph,
Don't be scared.
embrace it. It's a chance to learn, to grow, and to see the world in a whole new way.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep analyzing.
And keep those critical thinking skills sharp.
Absolutely.